And our reactions have continued to throw last Friday's judgment by the Supreme Court, which dismissed a suit instituted by 19 states against the Attorney General of the Federation challenging the constitutionality of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and 2 other anti-corruption agencies. Now, bringing a fresh perspective to the issue and to help us understand the position of the Supreme Court, we have joining us in the studio, of course, Mr. Ilyasu Gashibaki, founder and chairman of CIF with IN. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
I hope I got that correctly. All right.
You tried. Good try.
Thank you so much. But let's start with the big news. Of course, the Supreme Court's ruling on the challenge against Nigeria key, anti-corruption agencies, talking about the EFCC, led by the Kogi State governor. So how significant is this verdict for Nigeria's fight against corruption?
Well, I think it's the boldest and the most significant. But let me add quickly that the Supreme Court has been most progressive within the past 24 months, from the ruling of the currency redesign to the financial autonomy, and now on the EFCC case. In all these 3 instances, we have seen the Supreme Court come out to stand by Nigerians, stand by the Constitution, and then deliver judgment in the best interests of the public. So this is quite profound. It has led to raise all the issues surrounding the legality and the illegality of the EFCC now. The Supreme Court has spoken, and spoken rightly, to define where this stands.
The conversations and argument around the call, to declare EFCC legal entity is the fact that some government apparatus or institutions or individuals are using the EFCC and, of course, the ICPC and other anti-money laundering agencies. Do you agree with that, that the government and some people in government are using these agencies? Because that's the position and that's the argument there.
Yeah, as an outsider, probably from the outside perspective, it may seem so. But I will tell you, even the cases that were dismissed in court, I'm yet to see one innocent Nigerian that has been charged by the EFCC that actually there wasn't any alleged offense. You see, the challenge there is that even when these cases eventually are even dismissed in court, that does not really confirms or proves that there was no offense. What that just proves is that the prosecution was unable to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. Yes, of course, in a democratic setting like this, the issue of political witch hunt and using anti-graft agency against opposition can always come up. But the question that we always emphasize in the anti-corruption arena is that we are yet to see completely an innocent person being charged to court. So that's the perspective that we are not looking at.
Well, critics of this ruling, may argue again that it can consolidate too much power in federal agencies and leaves room for political interference. How do you see, this concern playing out in practical terms, really?
Well, in the first instance, going to court to even challenge the establishment of the EFCC, from where it even came from, the Kogi State Attorney General, which we knew that the basis of that was to shield the then governor of Kogi State, the former governor. We know that it was mischievous. It was just an empty way of just making an issue out of nothing. But the reality of all of this is that now with this, the thinking that the powers is now concentrated with the FG and whatever, is not really tenable. And I'll tell you why. The reason why it is not tenable is that the Constitution is very clear, crystal clear, that the National Assembly has powers to enact laws for the Federation. And as the Supreme Court went to pronounce that such laws, state laws, therefore, can not be inconsistent, cannot compete, and cannot be in contravention of any act of the National Parliament, because Section 12, subsection 2 of the Constitution has clearly defined the powers of the National Assembly to enact laws for the Federation. And that is not contestable and cannot be contested. And therefore, anybody who thinks that this is concentrating much powers to the federal institutions should blame the Constitution. And the Constitution is a dynamic document. So if we want to review the Constitution, it's a different manner. But as it stands today, the Constitution is right and the National Assembly is right.
How do you respond to, conversations and, of course, concerns around the fact that the former administration of President Buhari, came to power on the basis of fighting corruption?
Yes.
And of course, some have also said, look, perhaps this present government also came to power on that basis of campaign.
Yes.
So how much of fighting of corruption do you think this administration have recorded? I'm talking about this current administration.
Well, I'm not the spokesman of the current government, but what I would say...
But you can give us, of course, your analysis about the fight against corruption.
Yes. There are two ways of fighting corruption. Yeah. There is the systematic way that has to do with tackling what is critical within the system. And there is also the open way that has to do with raw enforcement of the laws. Now, if you allow me, I will tell you that one of the most profound steps that has been taken to deepen federalism and fight corruption was the Supreme Court ruling on financial autonomy. Why? Because for the very first time, we have now resources
at the
going to
grassroots level.
Yes, to a group of people that don't have immunity. Because whatever money you spend at the level of federal government, you can't prosecute the president and the vice president. And the same thing at the state level. But now for the very first time, resources, enormous amount of resources will go there, and anti-corruption agencies can take them up, civil society can come in, you can go to court, Nigerians can challenge whatever is not done right at that level. So for me, that is a profound and systematic way of tackling corruption. So it may not be by way of saying we have convicted so many so people, so many so number of governors have been arraigned. But again, we have now seen that a very profound step has been taken, that if law enforcement agencies will take advantage of that, I think that is a step in the right direction.
What a good place to leave it. Ilyasu Gashibaki is a founder and chairman, governing council of Chartered Institute of Forensics and Certified Fraud Investigators of Nigeria. I hope I got that correct this time.
Thank you for
coming on the news.